for joining me. I really appreciate it. I was just working out and I was thinking, okay, it's March Madness 2022 NCAA Division I men's basketball tourney. And one of the names on the list is Bryant University, the Bulldogs, right?
That's right. It's been a long time coming. When I was in school there, it was part of the transition to D1. So I've kind of seen the whole progression, and it's all been really gearing up to this moment. We've all been waiting for it, and you could kind of feel it with the energy in the building last week.
So when you say transition to Division One, what does that transition look like? My understanding is Division One means that you have as many scholarship for girls and guys and maybe 9 or 10 sports on both sides of the ball.
Yep. Yeah. It's all about, the equity there. And really it's like when I say transition, it just means like over several years, kind of really getting it all set up. And, you can participate in the sports, but you're not eligible for postseason. So it's a tough period to also recruit because they can't reach March Madness, for example. So it's kind of a tough period, and that's why building it up to now, and once you start getting those recruiting classes and getting it all cycled out, this is what it's all about.
So you're talking about recruits right now. So where are the primary, like if I go look at the Bryant University basketball roster, where are the primary kids from? Are they from Connecticut? Are they from everywhere? Are they transfers?
So
what's their roster look like this year?
With Coach Grasso, he is actually all about the grad transfer. So he goes everywhere. You'll see Canada, like other international. The star Peter Kiss is from New York City, which I'm sure you've heard all about that on ESPN, and with his attitude, either love it or hate it type of person. But yeah, Coach Grasso doesn't really stick to New England. It's, hey, who's available that can really get this high powered run and gun offense.
How long has that coach been there, Coach Grasso?
I think this is year 4.
Okay,
and
nice.
He came from Iona. He was an assistant. Yeah. And so I kind of view it as a stepping stone, honestly. Like he's getting the national spotlight. He was just interviewed on CBS. People know who he is. I think you'll see his name probably in the next handful of years move on to a bigger program.
Got you. So for those who don't know about this Peter kid, so what's his swagger? What's his thing?
Man, I love it. And like I said, you either love it or you hate it.
Is he draining threes and throwing it up, or what is his like?
He will look for anything to get under his skin and to get him motivated. And he the people who just are fueled by it. So if there's any comment made, it could be on Twitter. Like that's what happened this last game. You can look up Ryan Peters was, saying that Peter Kiss was a disappointment in the last couple of games and that sort of thing. And if you go back and watch the broadcast, when he hit a 3 and he pointed and said, like, that one was for you, expletive. And any little thing will get him going. And I love it because he can back it up. He's number 1 in college basketball in scoring.
Right.
So, if you can put up the points to back yourself up, say whatever you want. It's like, hey, stop me. If you can't beat me, then stay quiet and let me do my thing.
And what year is he?
I think it's technically year 6. So
right.
He's probably getting close to being as old as us at this point.
That's hilarious. So I have to ask, so you had said something about, pointing to the crowd and whatnot. Yeah. I didn't see the altercation, but I believe you were at the game, right?
Yeah, I was directly across from it.
I heard that there was a 20-minute all I know is that there was a 20-minute postponement in the, what was it, the NEC championship game, right?
Yeah, NEC championship game. So, kind of let's flash back a year ago. Bryant was in the championship a year ago, the favorite, and Mount St. Mary's has had Bryant's number for a few years. And so last year we were upset in the championship game, really deflating. We made our way all the way back this year. So you can just imagine that extra pressure. The building was rocking. But what really went on this year, I went back and watched it a few times, and being a Pacers fan growing up, anything that's labeled brawl and Malice at the Palace and all that really really gets to me. But what went on here is you have a small school and a tiny gym, and hundreds, thousands of just rowdy college kids waiting for this moment, and it's all right there. And so they have a little section of family and friends from Wagner right behind Wagner's bench, and the whole other section is Bryant students. And just like I said, rowdy is one word to describe it, but just really, really engaged and excited, and maybe pre-gamed the whole afternoon to prepare for the moment too. So, like I said, if you go back and watch the broadcast at the beginning of the game, ESPN said, this is what it's all about. A small gym, feel the energy. This is great. And they were just talking about how awesome the student section was. Nobody imagined, I think when it happened, 5 minutes to go, 68-32, something like that. It was just obliterating Wagner. And so, this is Bryant versus Wagner, number 1 versus number 2. Wagner had the player of the year when we were talking about Peter Kiss. Player of the year on Wagner. He went 0 for 16 in the game. Peter Kiss is dropping 30 again, like he had been all year. There's just a lot there, and nobody imagined it to be a blowout. And who knows what was said. Wagner fans were dishing it out early in the game, but then it got pretty quiet, and Bryant didn't get quiet. So if you watch that stretch of basketball, it was Bryant steal a rebound, hit a three, get it back, alley-oop, get it back, hit a three, timeout. It was just the place was awesome. Rocking.
Yeah.
And there's probably a little bit of see you later, go home. I hope it wasn't any more than that. You never really know, but like I said, it's directly across. And then all of a sudden we're like, okay, there's a little fight over there. Not a big deal. Then we start seeing players kind of being restrained. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm picturing Jermaine O'Neal, doing his thing. And I've watched that a million times too. But, you said 20 minutes. I think it was close to half hour. ESPN kept the whole thing on, no commercial break. And it wasn't a brawl. It was a little fight. It's unfortunate because, like I said, what that moment means to everyone part of that transition period, everyone in a small school in Rhode Island that half the country hasn't heard of. It's a little bit frustrating that that's what people talk about, and not the 60-32 blowout, dominating performance, all that good stuff. So
that's awesome. So, how big is the gym?
I was there with two friends, and it's not even as big as our high school gym. There's no seats behind the hoops, maybe 10-15 rows up. There's no second level. It's tiny, so everything is just right there.
And so does it rock during the regular season?
I haven't been regular season in a while. I think it's nothing like it was here, but
right.
I think that it's a good crowd, loud, but again, it's not even what Indiana high school basketball would see.
Got you. And Bryant won the conference outright.
Yep.
Is that correct? And then came back and won, because it's an automatic bid if you win.
Yeah.
To get into the dance, right?
Yep. Automatic bid. And I'm I'm pretty frustrated with these brackets because I think if you win your regular season outright, if you win your postseason, there's no reason you should be in a play-in game, in my opinion.
You should be a 16 seed outright and not in a play-in, right?
Yeah, so now Bryant pretty much has a road game because they play Wright State, which is in Dayton. So
right. And the game's at Dayton, right?
Yeah, kind of upsetting, but hey.
Do you know, are they going to play it on the Flyers gym, or do they have a big old they must have a big gym because the NIT is typically at the Flyers gym, right?
Yeah, I don't remember.
They must have a big convention center of some sort.
Yeah, I don't recall. I know they're trying to get some students out there to have some Bryant faithful in the crowd, but it's gonna be all Wright State.
That's awesome. Well, I guess not awesome, but hey, how did you hear? So growing up in Indianapolis, how did you hear about Bryant University? Can you describe what the campus is like and what drew you out there?
Yeah, I mean, what drew me out there was the campus itself, but back in our Academy of Finance days in high school, so my dad actually heard about Bryant on NPR in Indiana. So he's like, oh, that's interesting. He heard about their actuarial program. And so we read up about it, said, you know what, it's worth a visit. And we were out visiting some family. Took a swing by Bryant in the summertime, and they took like me and my parents on a tour of the campus. Like, it was just us. And, you know, they didn't have anybody working, but they did that for us anyway.
Yeah.
And so we're just walking through the campus, and it's all kind of its own big bubble. It's a lot of acreage, and just how they have everything set up. Like, all the classes are pretty much in one building, and just the feel, it was right. Like, I was like, I think that this is definitely where I want to go to school. And, you know, scary. I was actually between Purdue and Bryant. So big, large Big Ten school and tiny school out in New England. So I just like the New England feel, and just doing something different. And yeah, it's fun now all these years later because, you know, all of you guys get to hear about Bryant and hopefully see them make the dance.
I mean, it's freaking awesome to make the dance, man. I love watching all these. It just means so much more for the smaller conferences. You can just see it in the players when they're playing these conference championships. They're just going at it so much harder because just a chance to play in the big dance is just so meaningful. It was pretty cool to watch this last weekend.
Yeah, the pressure is just that much more. And, you know, every free throw is more tense, and every moment just feels bigger because you're carrying for this is like, you know, never happened before. So it's the whole history of the program, and even predating when they're in Division II. So
right. And what sucks about it is, let's say Bryant wins the outright, but then for some reason does not win the conference championship. Then it's like, it just makes it just so bitter, like you're saying last year or whatever. So when back to the university, what do most kids go to Bryant for?
School wise, it's a big accounting school.
Okay, gotcha.
So it's mostly business. You know, they've been actually moving into more liberal arts lately, and even some kind of more like pre-medical program type stuff. That they never had a big focus on science before. But yeah, I'd say mostly just accounting / business.
And how many kids go to the school? Like total enrollment, you think?
Oh, quizzing me on my
when you were there
as a tour guide. It's about 2,000.
Okay, that's what I was gonna guess. Gotcha. Well, what else should I know? Is Bryant going to be? They're going to win this game in Dayton. They're going to beat Wright State and put the name on the map, right?
Yeah, I got to tell you about the team. Everyone knows Peter Kiss, number one scorer in college basketball. He can do anything. You know, 6'5" guard. If you're watching them and he starts settling for threes and long jump shots, that's not good. He needs to get into rhythm first, and then when he makes them after like all the momentum's built up.
Yep.
He throws up some daggers there. My boy is Charles Sour Patch Chuck Pride. Charles Pride. He led the nation in rebounding for guards. He's averaging almost 9 boards a game as a 6'4" guard, which
that's impressive.
That's awesome. And he's always in the right place at the right time. But he's the catalyst. Like, he's getting all those boards, dishing it out, lobbing it up to Hall Elijah's. The offense kind of runs. It doesn't run through him, but when he's touching the ball more, that's a good thing. They're 16 seeds, so you don't expect them to win, but they do have like 4 seniors and a junior starting. And when I say seniors, a lot of them are 5th or 6th year seniors.
Right.
And that's, the recipe for a win, at least to get there and maybe compete with Arizona. But yeah, what you know about smaller schools like this is we don't have the height on the interior, and that's normally what holds you back. But we have Hall Elijah's, who in that championship game had 8 blocks, which, I mean, everyone felt bigger than the one before it. So he holds down, protecting the rim. That's his job. But also he's 75 to 80% foul shooter for a big guy. So that's big too. So, I think a lot of it is just that like kind of fun March Madness team, but as a 16 seed, everyone's going to root for him anyway, which is kind of cool.
That's great.
But I think what I expect is in years to come, they'll potentially move out of the Northeast Conference and into the America East. And that's where Vermont is. And everyone knows perennial Vermont making the tournament, but that's what I think is kind of next on the horizon for Bryant.
Nice. So what kind of defense will you guys run? Will you guys won't be pressing too much?
It depends. I like it when they press, but when you don't have the bigs in the back, it leads to some pretty easy baskets. But they tend to switch off like man and zone. So if they miss their shots on the offensive end, they'll man up, and if they get to settle down and kind of set up their D, they'll play a nice zone.
Okay, nice.
So yeah, mixing it up, that keeps it pretty tough for the opposing offense.
Nice. Well, what else should I know going into this game?
I mean,
you got any other bracket busting knowledge going into?
Let's see, bracket busting knowledge.
Who do you got winning your bracket?
I have Purdue winning right now over Villanova. In my first bracket of, I'll probably be changing it, but things that I think will happen. I think Duke will lose in the round of 32.
Okay.
I think Wisconsin will lose in the first round.
Interesting.
To Colgate. And as an Indiana Hoosiers fan, I am picking the surprise team, Richmond Spiders. Is that what they are? To beat Iowa?
Yeah, I think so. To beat Iowa.
I want to get Iowa out of there with their lucky half.
I think they're hot right now. I think they're a team to be scared of.
Yeah, like off balance, leaning half court bank shots. Like, come on. Like,
IU should win the playing game.
And they shouldn't be in a playing game either. It's I mean, this bracket is made to just like frustrate me, I think.
Right. So have you watched Colgate this year?
Nope, I have not. They fit. I think that from what I read, they fit that Cinderella story, and Wisconsin, I think, is the opposite, to where if they just get cold, it's like that typical Big Ten game where they put up like 30 points or something like that. I could see that happening to Wisconsin.
Right.
And I feel like whenever everyone is on the Big Ten, that's when they tend to just kind of fizzle.
They crumble. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. What else is out there? Can Colorado State beat Michigan?
I read that one too. I think that one's going to get picked a lot, but I think Michigan will win, just because I don't see them losing back-to-back games.
Right. I think so. I think so too. I think Michigan will pull that out. Are you taking the day off work to go watch games?
No,
You were
I
early
am
on that.
not.
I have recently been like, this is like a national holiday to like, there's just so many games that all come close. It's great.
Yeah, my favorite was it was for my brother Mike's bachelor party in Philly. It was during March Madness.
Yeah.
So that was a lot of fun. Like being there, like again, not working. It was pretty cool.
Yeah. So another one. So you had said Duke might lose early, right? The round
Yeah,
of
you know who
32.
you want to know who I'm having upset Duke?
Who's that?
Davidson. Um,
Okay.
so
I
David,
haven't seen Davidson at all this year.
so back in 2008, I picked Davidson to win 3 games. I started the Steph Curry bandwagon before he was the big thing. And they are in the exact same part of the bracket, the exact same seed that they were back in 2008, a 10 seed.
Okay.
So I see them pulling off the upset in round one, and then saying "see you later" to Coach K. Don't let the
I
door
like
hit
that.
you on the way out.
Since you're talking about Duke, I have to ask you about UNC because they look good on that last game of the year. So are they better than their seed portrays?
Yeah. Yep.
Another
Absolutely.
another team that I've enjoyed watching because I like Tiger Campbell. I really like the UCLA team. I like the way they move the ball, and they overperformed last year. I forget what seed they were, but they came out of nowhere and made it pretty deep.
Yep. Yeah, I think that they could easily get back. I think that whole team is back this year. So
Right. I think they got pretty good ball movement just in their regular rotation. One other game that people have asked me about is Loyola Chicago versus Ohio State. Is Loyola Chicago going to do it again?
I'm trying to remember if I picked that.
I think
I'm
I'm going with
definitely
Ohio
not
State
that
on
high
that.
on Ohio State.
Right. And then down here, everybody's UH fans. So some people have talked about UAB, but I watched them play. Didn't they go to like 3 overtimes in their conference championship? So
Yeah, I'm surprised you didn't bring up when Houston played Bryant earlier in the year. The score was, I believe, 111-44.
oh,
So
really?
yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Bryant against the size and athleticism is it's tough. It's tough to compete.
Well, U of H, I think they're down to like a 7-man rotation. So it's going to be tough in my mind to go deep in the tourney, but obviously people have done it in the past. So we'll see.
Yeah, there's probably not a person that I dislike more than Kelvin Sampson. So
Right, right. I saw him in the grocery store the other day, and I didn't recognize him until the very end, until we were checking out. So he had his face mask on, and I just walked by this guy 2 or 3 times. I'm like, I recognize that guy, so I'm kind of going like this, and I just assumed he was like a guy from my apartment complex or something, right? And then he was checking out in front of me, and I realized like he's wearing all U of H Jordan gear, like from head to toe, like his shoes match, his pants are U of H, and I'm like, "Are you Kelvin Sampson?" I just said like, "Good luck this season" or something like that. So, he was trying to avoid conversation because I think he could tell I was a Big Ten person. I had like some Purdue gear on or something like that, and he was like, "This dude's gonna yell at me," so he kind of like put his head down and ran away.
yeah, I mean, better off. Like I wish you were wearing like an Eric Gordon jersey or something like that.
Right. Which he's still down here with the Rockets. I guess they decided to keep him so far. I always kind of giggle about that because there's big billboards in the city. It's like for the city. I'm like, yeah, the shadiest coach ever.
Yeah,
for your city.
yeah, it's like set Indiana back years.
Yeah, that's tough. But hey, they finally made the tournament first for Indiana,
Yep.
first time in 6 years, I think. So,
Yep.
but that's awesome, man. Well, I appreciate your time. I know you got things to do that are more important than this, but it's good to see you. and
Yeah,
to
you
kind
too.
of talk basketball right before the tournament. I know you appreciate this. I think you were skipping school to go to this thing way back in the day before I even had my head wrapped around it. And I know we've watched some of those things. What year was that? 2002, maybe? Indiana go to the Final Four?
Yeah, so a lot of really good memories. So we watched the best game was Indiana versus Kent State. And I know you came over for that one. We grabbed pizza and stuff. Kent State had Antonio Gates on the team back in the day, so that was pretty cool. Yeah, I always made sure that in high school, Coach Raker and others would get some TVs in the classroom. Even in middle school, it's like, yeah, we got to listen to it.
I thought you skipped and went downtown to the games.
I I skipped for the for the Big Ten tournament, senior year in high school, first round. I think it was I think Indiana played Penn State that year, but yeah, that was back. Yeah, that was back in that was in the RCA dome. No, I'm trying to remember if that was in the RCA dome or if it was in Conseco Fieldhouse. Can't remember. I'll have to look back. It's pre Lucas Oil, that's for sure.
You know, talking about Indiana back in that time frame, I do have to tell you one other story of a coach run-in that I had here in Houston. So I'm walking in the tunnels and I run into Mike Davis. I'm like, oh, Mike Davis, like he was coaching Texas Southern at the time. I think that he just this year went to Detroit Mercy and
Okay.
coaches Detroit Mercy at this time, unless he's been somewhere else. So I run into him. He's like, super nice, gives me
Yeah.
his cell phone number. He's like, dude, text me. He's like, here, I'll leave 4 tickets for you. Like, come to the game. So I go to Texas Southern University. I'm texting him, blah, blah, blah. He invites me on the court, me and my wife. He takes us out there. He's like talking to us. He's like, yeah, I was looking for you in the crowd. Like, I didn't see you. I didn't know if you showed up. You know, introduced me to his son, was talking about the Perry game that ended up the regional that went really deep. And do you remember this? What I'm talking about? It went down to the buzzer, and they called off the shot and all this stuff. But I guess my takeaway was I could text Mike Davis right now, and well, I don't know, like that he'd text me back immediately. It felt that way. He's the most personable person ever. Like he was
Yeah.
so extremely nice and friendly. It was just unbelievable.
Yeah, do you remember when he came and spoke at our middle school?
I vaguely remember.
Yeah, so he came then. So I think he went Indiana, then to UAB,
Yeah.
and then Texas Southern maybe. But there may have been something in between there. But yeah, just a great guy. One of my good friends from school sends me the various Indiana Hoosiers clips over the years, but you know, you'll recall clips with like Indiana and Kentucky and just how emotional, how much he cares, like that passion for the game where he's like, you know, every foul, he's like on his knees, like he just wants to win so bad, and not for himself, but for the kids.
Yeah. You know, he told me, he goes, we will make the tournament this year. And they did the year that I had seen him, which I think was 2 or 3 years back at this point. But
yeah,
they made one of those 16 seeds.
Yep. I think, yeah, a couple of Texas teams are playing in the playing game.
Yeah, it's like A&M Corpus Christi. And what is the other one? It's like another, I think it's Texas Southern, actually.
Yeah, it's, I don't know. I was gonna say, is Texas like the new Indiana for basketball right
I
now?
mean, there's so many people down here, and people are moving to Texas. I mean, you have such a big geographic area. If you think of like you were creating Indiana, Ohio, Illinois, and Kentucky, it's like you're just going to have so many players to choose from. So I don't know, whole different ball game. But I drive around the neighborhood here, and there's like no basketballs in the driveway, no basketball goals. So I'm just like, no one, like that's all we did.
Yep.
So it's just it's really a culture shock to be down here and just not see any or very few basketball goals.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Same here. I've been trying to get Lucas playing, and they just don't have like the YMCA programs and stuff.
Really?
It just all starts a lot later.
Right.
And like, man, by the time we were in elementary school, it's like between our driveways and the YMCA and anywhere else we could play, it's like we were playing everywhere we could.
Absolutely. For my friends who have kids, I always get them the Little Tikes basketball goal. I'm like, this is the only toy you need.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the best. We've been playing with it a ton. Like, doesn't matter if you're like 5 or 2.
Right.
It's still just as much fun.
Yeah. Well, Chris, again, thanks for taking 30 minutes of your time or 40 minutes of your time to kind of talk with me. I appreciate it. I'm going to post this up on YouTube. I'm going to try to do it right now. But
All right.
I appreciate you kind of running through here so I know who to pick and what to look for. I'm going to try to catch this game.
And if
Wednesday,
Alita,
right?
if Alita gets hot from the 3-point line, watch out. It's over. If he hits 1, he's going to hit 8.
Okay,
So
nice. Perfect. We'll be looking out for that.
All right. Well, go Bulldogs. Hope to have a recap, maybe even after they beat Arizona or something like that.
Let's do that. Exactly. If they beat Arizona, we will definitely recap.
Sounds good.